Cosmo, first of all, I am very glad that you came to Russia and you came to a Russian audience, Russian people, and really I'm very glad to greet you here in St. Petersburg. I'm very glad you came.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cosmo, can you tell a little bit about yourself? How you came to practice this, first of all? How it all started in your life?
Well, I think I've always been searching for something. You know, I was always searching for inner peace, to find some kind of purpose. And when I was a young man, that search took me into the army. And then I trained as a psychologist, as an engineer. So that search was taking me from one thing to the next. And then one day I found massage through my girlfriend, who was a massage therapist, and I really liked it, and I thought I'd like to train. So I trained as a massage therapist, and I found I was good at it, and I really enjoyed the way it helped me to connect to other people, to touch. And so I practiced as a massage therapist for about 7 years, and then I came across yoga, and I loved it because in yoga was a spiritual path, and I needed a path like that. But I always wanted to bring them together. I was always thinking, how do I bring massage and yoga together? I was from the northeast of England. I'd never heard of Thai massage before. But then one day a friend who'd been traveling around Thailand came back and said, hey, I found this great technique. Let me give you a massage. And being a massage therapist and a yoga practitioner teacher, I thought, yeah, let's do this. And when I received this massage, it was bing, it was everything I've been looking for. It was the perfect fusion of massage and yoga. And that was the start of my journey into Thai massage 10 years ago. In fact, after that massage, 4 months later, I was in Thailand on a 6-week course studying Thai massage. So I'd found what I was looking for. I'd found my purpose and my place, I think. And I haven't changed that direction since, so I think my search is kind of over. Now I'm just enjoying the journey, sharing and teaching, and yeah.
That's so cool. Cosmo, can you just tell what is Thai massage for you now? Is your view of Thai massage changed since the beginning 10 years ago and now? How it changed?
Definitely. In the beginning, I had this yearning, I had this connection. It was deeply instinctive, unconscious. I just enjoyed it deeply. Mm-hmm. And when I first learned Thai massage, it was all about techniques. And I had to learn these techniques. But within these techniques was something else. And it was a chance for me to really connect to myself and to other people, to slow everything down, to become still inside, and from that still point, connect to another person. And this is where I like to say kind of a meeting of souls. So for me now, Thai massage is a path for me to connect to others in a way that I feel I am, a soul. And through this kind of energy, I seem to awaken the same energy in the people I treat. I kind of help to open them. So for me, it's now a path to almost evolution, you know.
I agree completely. Yeah. Actually, I always tell people that Thai massage and yoga, actually, it's about transformation.
Yeah.
It's the fastest way to transform yourself, you know. And if it doesn't transform you, so it's wrong yoga or it's wrong Thai massage, actually.
I think it was always transforming me. I just couldn't put words to it. In the beginning, I was always coming out thinking, wow, you know. But now I kind of understand more about that wow. It's kind of opening my consciousness, it's opening my heart, it's connecting me to the rhythm of life, the pulse of life, you know. Rooting me in the present moment.
Cosmo, as far as I know, you taught yoga professionally, so as
Yes,
yoga teacher.
yes.
For how many years?
I taught yoga professionally for 7 years. I actually started teaching professional footballers, which goes down well with my little boy. I was actually working for a Premiership football team called Middlesbrough Football Club and working with the England players. And this was before I'd actually qualified. This was, I think it was my second year into my training. It was a 3-year training course. And that gave me the desire to really continue because I was young, I was earning money, I was connecting to these stars, if you like, and I enjoyed that. And it gave me this impetus to continue. And then I started working with actually elderly people. Through my psychology training, I was working with elderly people, so I was bringing yoga. It went from one kind of like working for fitness, and then working for kind of therapeutic health, and helping people bring yoga into their lives.
Now, you still practicing yoga? Maybe not asana.
I do practice a little bit. I mean, I give Thai massage on a regular basis, so I do keep my body healthy. But for me now, it's more a practice of keeping consciously connected to a faith, to a higher understanding of how I think I exist. Like the Tantra. I truly believe we are a soul essence. So I try and keep my mind in that kind of consciousness, and I try and bring that into my everyday life, the people I touch, the people I work with, talk with. So for me, yoga means unity. In the beginning, for me, that was unity of my awareness with my body, if you like, becoming body aware. But now, I haven't excluded that, but now it's more of an internal process of mindfulness and unity with my higher self, my core self.
And with other people, do you advise them doing yoga, construct some practices for them, no?
Can you repeat?
Do you advise people of doing some yoga, as a regular practice, just adding it to your Thai massage?
Well, part of my treatment plan is people will come for Thai massage, just say, for instance, for a lower back problem. So I will use massage to help with the symptoms of the lower back problem, relieve the pain, and then I'll give them yoga asana to go home and practice, and some meditation too. So it's kind of like a holistic approach. I help them, but I can't do everything for them. So I teach them to help themselves.
Yeah, the same I do. Yeah, first, exactly, because always when I do Thai massage, I give them asana practice as a homework. So it's like this, and it works very well.
Yeah, and
especially when you see that they practice.
And they like that attention. They like somebody who really thinks about what they're going to do when they leave the room. It's not just coming in and bye-bye. It's like, I'm taking care of you. I'm helping you with your life, and they feel that, and they send their friends. And it's becoming very popular. This approach, Thai massage with the yoga and the meditation practice at home.
Cosmo, how do you connect Orient approach like yoga and Thai massage with Western approach like psychology? How do you use them together?
Well, I think there is a common ground of reality, and I think the yoga science explains that. And it's a science which means it doesn't belong to a particular culture, because it's a science of the universe, it's a truth. And I like the explanation of the 7 chakra system and how the 7 chakras with psychic functional instincts and needs relate to the physical body. And there was a professor, I think, a psychologist called Maslow, who actually took that model into the West. It's called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, explaining that human beings have 7 functional instinctual needs. And when these needs are not met, we suffer. So I try and go beyond just particular techniques and approaches, and I try and go to the heart of the matter. And it's the same with the Buddhism and the Four Noble Truths. It's a truth for everybody, not just a truth for kind of, Buddhists or Christians. It's the truth is that there is suffering in the world. There is the cessation of suffering. There is the path that removes suffering, and there is freedom, or something like that. But it's these core truths that I try and work with. What we're all looking for is freedom from suffering. And there's simple ways to kind of remove that, and just helping people to connect to their body through yoga, connect to their breath and their mind through meditation, to find this still point, which we all need. So I try and transcend fashions and techniques into this common reality of being human, of being alive, of being conscious, and what we all need. And I think it's more simple than we think. We can overcomplicate things. And the beauty of yoga and Thai massage is they've simplified it to a beautiful art. And that's how I bring... I'm not really... Although I did train... I like very much Carl Jung. That was my particular path, studying Jungian psychology. And it is brilliant. And I still like it. But now, maybe because I've done my journey and removed a lot of my own suffering, I don't have to go too much into the details now. Now I can enjoy the simplicity of the meditation practice, I don't have to, it's now become quite simple for me. I don't know if that answered your question. It's hard to, how you marry them. And I think we marry them because there's a common need in all of us that goes beyond West and East. And I think if we can understand that common human need, then we go beyond these cultural divisions. And that's kind of how I work now. I don't belong to Thailand. I don't belong to England. I'm just a human being. And I've gathered together some great techniques from each culture. And I use these now. But they do follow a path of meditation and some kind of asana and breath work, for sure.
But you still follow Thai massage as tradition and as the base for everything you do, right?
Well, this is an interesting question. I don't follow too much the tradition, in the indigenous tradition in Thailand. Being trained as a yoga teacher, it gave me a language. And when I found that Thai massage was actually rooted in the Indian yoga system, and it actually came from northern India, apparently around 2,500 years ago, it gave me a lot of relief. And it also gave me a framework to work from, which is the yoga system. So now I root my practice in the yoga science. So it's, and some would say that is its home, So I have a lot of respect for the Thais, because I go there every winter and I train in Thailand and Chiang Mai in Thai massage. I just find it easier to go deeper into its Indian roots. I find that has a language and a science which gives me a framework and an understanding, a cosmology. It makes it all, gives it all a meaning.
But do you understand yourself as a part of tradition of Thai massage, or you just go completely beyond it in your practice?
I think I am a vehicle. I think we're all very unique as human beings, and we learn Thai massage, it comes to us, and then we pass it through us to others. And so I am part of the lineage, passing down this amazing art. No matter what I do, the foundation of my practice is Thai massage. It will never change. Even when I add osteopathy to it, or shiatsu, or abdominal massage, no matter what I'm adapting or creating myself, the foundation is Thai massage, classical Thai massage.
But do you feel yourself free at anything, as far as I understand? And here we come to a question. The thing is, if you want to maintain this as a tradition, you should keep it somehow. And if you change it, it will not be a tradition anymore. Where is the line?
I think we've got to follow what is right for us. You know, some people are born to uphold the tradition. It's their karma, it's their dharma. Their purpose in this life is to be strong in themselves and uphold a tradition. And I respect that. And I learn from these people. But for me, I'm from the West, I travel around, I'm well trained in many other disciplines. So for me, I add many things to what I'm doing. So even though I'll be doing a classical Thai massage asana, I'll think, oh, well, I can just do this, and I can just do that, and then I can add a little bit of this. So it becomes very unique, and I don't feel it's disrespectful. I just feel it's being fully authentic to my own training, my own life. And I always, and the way I get round this, because people have once or twice said to me, this isn't classical Thai massage. And I just say, maybe it's not the classical, but if you look into what I'm doing, the generic image is Thai massage. The generic pattern, the posture. It's just that I'm doing things differently. And it's challenged me to grow in my own practice and to fully be myself and not try and block what I want to do or block being creative in that moment and inventing new things coming through. And I think that is fine for me, and I'm happy with that now. And I don't feel at all I'm disrespectful by doing things slightly differently than when I was taught by Thai massage, because I've also been taught things in osteopathy. I've also been taught things in Tai Chi, in Tui Nai, aromatherapy, Swedish massage. So I have all this in my deep unconscious, in my body. So when I'm working, things come through, and they're like nature. You know, you get this hybrid is developed when different different things come together. So I'm not really sticking to the classical system, but I can't escape the foundation from which I work from, which is Thai massage. So for me, it's like I satisfy both things. You know, I'm fully creative and spontaneous, but I'm also fully aware that I'm rooted in the system of Thai massage.
But you teach some standard forms in Thai massage, right?
Oh yeah, I teach.
You just maintain tradition in some way.
Oh yeah, the way I maintain the tradition, and I have to, because people need a framework. I can't just teach them Cosmo yoga straight away, because they need a language, they need a structure. So I teach a foundation course, a 10-day foundation course, taken from the ITM system. And I teach meditation in the morning. We do the mantra, the Om Namo mantra. So it is quite traditional. But I'm also making them aware that there's more. So that's kind of, I start off how I started in the tradition of Thai massage. But then I evolve into things like Thai Ayurveda. I evolve more into the dynamic, which is going a little bit into the osteopathy and tantra. You know, so I bring my other trainings into the more advanced courses. But people can't just start running, they first need to walk. And I think the foundation is learning to walk, and I think, you know, traditional classical Thai massage is an amazing foundation. And when they have that, they can either stay in the very classical system, or depending on their nature, their background and training, they can evolve into other things. You know? I mean, even now they've got things like Wu Tai. It's all merging and new things are coming out. But they all come from Thai massage.
At the end of the day, I think we come to the point, does massage go through the concrete person or not? So, and I feel that through you it's going, through you. You're just great. It's going through you. Do you understand what I mean?
I do. I do, but I'm very sincere, and that's why I believe in what I'm doing. But it's took me a while to kind of understand and accept this process, because I too was very because I'd learned for a long time in the classical tradition, the Thai ways. Even don't press this point, don't press that point. But there was a part of me, it was just spontaneous. stretched out a little bit. I mean, you will see it as well on this dynamic course that I'm teaching. I'm teaching a lot of what David Luck taught me, probably 75%, but the other 25% is what I've made up. Mm-hmm. You know, what came through me, how I changed particular techniques and thought, well, if you're doing this, why not? This is much easier and it's more effective. So why stick with the old way if you find it a new way that's slightly more effective?
I think it's interesting because we can transfer our current conditions through the touch. So, or what we feel and, I mean, our state of mind, our state of health even, you know, and we can transfer everything through the touch. And I think that your individual practice must go first. But it's my individual opinion. And we practice something, we achieve something, you know, we reach some state maybe of health or of the mind, and we can transfer it to the touch.
Absolutely. And I think that awareness comes as we follow the path of Thai massage, because in the West you will learn aromatherapy or Swedish massage, and they don't teach you about this. You're learning techniques. And this is why I loved Thai massage when I met it, because all of a sudden it introduced a yoga practice and a meditation practice and started talking about metta, you know, and saying how we influence and change the people, not just through touch but also intention. And I thought, wow, this was just opening me up. Yeah, I get it. You're talking to my heart here. And that's why I think as teachers we have a responsibility to guide our students towards a personal practice which brings them into harmony with themselves, opens the channels in their body, opens the channels in their mind, you know, and allows them not only to take care of their own body and prevent injury when giving massage, but also to transmit and deepen their touch and the effect that they have on other people. And it's more beautiful for us as a practitioner teacher when we put ourselves in this state and we start to work and to touch, then we're really enjoying it, you know. And if we're really tuned in and really enjoying it, then they are too. You know.
I always tell people to be aware that Thai massage changed lives.
It's changed mine.
How, Cosmo? Tell.
Well, like I said, it absolutely does change lives. Like I said, I was searching. I was just a normal. I'm still a normal person, but I'm more aware now. Before, I didn't have that awareness. I was a nice guy. But I was searching. I was a bit lost, suffering with anxiety, suffering with doubt, fear of the future on some level. Sorry, I lost. What was the question?
How Thai massage changed your life?
Yeah. Well, Thai massage changed my life profoundly. You know, it was like opening a door that I didn't know was there, and a huge rush of energy flowed through this door, and I entered into a new opportunity of life. And in that, I began to meet many more people, you know, make many more friends. I began to earn money, which allowed me to continue to travel and train. I felt myself growing as a human being. I felt my heart opening, my mind opening. I was finding inner peace. I was finding direction. And I was also becoming an artist, a massage artist, and refining and mastering these techniques. So there were so many levels to this, how it changed my life. It was like everything all of a sudden made sense, you know. All of my needs were being met. And I realized, perhaps what the Buddhists talk about, that we all have a dharma within us, a life purpose. And I think when I met Thai massage, something deeply resonated with me, you know. And now I understand what that resonation was. You know, that Thai massage is my dharma in this life. It's my purpose. It's the vehicle that I grow through and I share with other people and help them to find what they're looking for deep down.
Cosmo, the most popular question about you, is Cosmo a real name or a pseudonym?
It's my real name. Yes, it's my full name is Julian Cosmo Kemp. But we have a tradition in my family of everybody being called by their middle name, which is Cosmo. My father was Kenneth Billy Kemp, he was called Billy. My mother was called Margaret Susan Kemp, and she was called Susan. So we're all called by our middle names. When I was born, my dad chose Cosmo. That was his contribution to my name, and my mother called me Julian. So they're both Greek. Julian means to rule. It came from the Julius Caesar, and Cosmos means kind of the universe, or everything, all things. So I mean, it gets asked quite a lot. Is that my real name? But yes, it is. It's not something I made up. It was it's on my birth certificate.
How do you live with this name? Do you feel like Cosmo?
I like it. I do actually. Yes, they do say your name defines you. When I was younger, I didn't like it so much. I was often bullied by the older boys who would poke fun, going Cosmo, Cosmo, what a weird name, kick me and stuff like that. So I would hide that name and call myself Julian to stop being bullied. But then later, once I got over, as a teenager, I decided, no, I like that name. This is me. I should be proud of who I am. I identified more with the name Cosmo than Julian. And now I understand, and I actually feel Cosmo in my practice, because it's very hard to just define what I'm doing. It's just, what is it? It's kind of, I don't know, it's just open. It's creativity. It's spontaneous. I like a lot of this teaching will be spontaneous over the next 4 or 5 days. I have an idea based on experience on what to do, but as I deliver it, it's going to come out in unique ways, and I'll make things up.
Do you teach people how to be spontaneous in Thai massage? And one more question, is it possible to teach it?
I think you can, and I think that the main way is to create a space which allows people to be creative. And they need to feel safe to be creative. So I think you as a teacher, your energy, how you are in yourself, do you encourage people to be spontaneous? If I dominate the class by saying, you have to do this, you have to do that, and I'm going, no, you don't do this, you do that, then they're not going to be creative and spontaneous. They're just going to copy everything I tell them. But I show them a professional way, and I show them where to put their body, how to maintain their centre of gravity, how to breathe, how to connect. And then I leave it to them, and I say, explore. I say, if you get a feeling, allow yourself to follow that feeling, okay? So I think it's creating a space, removing the blockages, and allowing people to be spontaneous and creative.
When you do Thai massage, what is your purpose to achieve? What do you want to give a person?
I mean, there's many levels. I want them to be a good tactician. I want them to be good at what they do, the technique. I want them to enjoy what they're doing. I think that's about. I mean, you can go on many levels.
Yeah, of course.
But basically, I want them to be good at what they do, and I want them to enjoy what they do, and their clients to enjoy what they do.
And when you practice, what do you want to give to a person when you practice Thai massage?
Yeah, I want to give pleasure. I want them to enjoy. I want to almost anchor them. I want to take them deep. I want to awaken something in them. Because a lot of my clients in Odessa, which is where I live now, they don't have a path. They don't have much direction. They're good people, but they're a little bit lost. And that's why they come to me, this sense that I'm not so lost, I'm not so anxious, I'm more centered, and they want what I have, and I try to give them what I have in the touch, and for a moment they feel, at the end of the massage, they feel fully present. You know, they feel this peace, and I want them to taste that more and more and more. You know, I'd like them all to come and train with me, not because I want money or because I want power. It's because I know I can give them what they're looking for, or I can be a channel to help them find what they're looking for. You know, which is my purpose for teaching.
Thank you, Cosmo.
Okay, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, me too. Cosmo, thank you so much for interesting conversation. Thank you for coming here to Russia. It's a pleasure to host you here, and I hope you can give people a lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, John. It's пожалуйста.